Hey there guys, in this video we're going to be going back to the Gingerbuff man. We're going to be doing a clear that turns on every modifier except for one of them. So this won't be a rank 1 clear, but this should still be a way for you guys to get a really good score even if it's not rank 1, because this Clash of Wills is very hard. And we're going to try to make it slightly cheaper than what I've done in the rank 1 video. So we're going to turn on everything except for one of the defense and spirit mods. Now, if you swap out some of the DPS units, you can turn this one on and then turn off the small one. Or maybe you can turn them all on, up to you. But we're going to be leaving off the big one, that way I don't have to worry about variance. This is going to overcap by a decent chunk. But I don't have to run the fight 5 times hoping for a variance roll. Now, as far as the attack and magic mod, if your tank is not as well geared as mine, we're going to use Chow. If your Chow is not as well geared, you can leave this modifier off and then he'll tank it no problem. But we're going to turn on the attack and magic mod. This is pretty risky and this does hurt, and depending on RNG, Chow can still potentially die. But for the most part, my Chow can handle the attack and magic mod turned on. So we're doing a 9 out of 10 modifier clear. We're just leaving off a defense and spirit buff. So we're going to be using Onion Knight as a meteor user. You know, we'd love to use Golbez instead, but he can't come because of his auto break. Sylvie is for support. Runda is for the mitigation. That's kind of important here. And Chow is going to omni cover everything the entire fight, so the party never takes a point of damage except for Chow. And then Frievia and Ayaka are going to be the big DPS here. Notice we are not using Olive. Now, Olive would be a better option over Onion Knight, truth be told. And if you do have Olive, go ahead and bring her. But a lot of people said, you know, I don't have an EX3 Olive, and she really wants to be EX3 to come to this fight. And for those of you that don't have like Ashe or Cecil or like Hyunkel, etc., we're using Chow as our tank, and he can tank it pretty well with this setup. And we are using the attack and magic mod, so you know it's painful, but we're going to do it. So here we go, and I'll have a turn chart in the comments. Okay, so the first thing we do in turn 1 before anything else, the boss has these preemptive buffs. We got to get rid of them, and Sylvie's going to be busy this turn. So Onion Knight in the base form is going to Bushido Freedom the first action to dispel the boss's preemptive buffs, and he's no longer attack and magic buffed. Now Chow's going to LB for Omni Cover. Don't start Chow in the shift form. He's got to start in the base form, because if you shift him, it'll erase his Omni Cover. So we start in the base and we Omni Cover on turn 1. We're going to use the shifted LB of Frievia. That's an accuracy down on the boss. Now, the boss does have accuracy up, but with 100 evasion on Chow and 50 accuracy down on the boss, there's a 50-50 every physical attack misses. So it's kind of like a 50% damage reduction for your tank if they're fully evading. Because, you know, now there's a 50% chance that his attacks will miss. Ayaka is going to do her cooldowns on turn 1, and then Carol of the Frosty Snow to seal the boss. Runda is going to do Laser to attack and magic break. Then we're going to do Protectica and Shelga +2 for the stat buffs. And Sylvie is going to do Burgeoning, Petals, and Vines for all the mitigations. Now, there is a little bit of RNG here. If the boss uses like a ton of beams or kicks, your Chow is probably going to die. Most of the time, a well-geared Chow should survive this turn, not too big of a deal. So here we go. And it depends on RNG, because again, all these misses are the because of the accuracy down. If you don't accuracy down the boss, he'll never miss. But with accuracy down, he missed a bunch of his physical attacks. So there we go. Chow survived. Chow counters up a little bit and heals himself to full, and you know, fills LB gauge, all that goodness. Now turn 2 is the most dangerous turn of the fight, because he's got that attack and magic buff on turn 2. So I'll show you what we're going to do once Chow does finish countering. It is a Chow clear, he counters a lot. So we're going to guard Chow for this turn, because it's going to hurt. So by guarding, we just take half damage on top of everything else. Onion will magic boost himself to get ready for Meteor for later. We're going to LB Ayaka. Now her LB is naturally Ice Element, so that just sealed the boss. Frievia will end guard and double flick just for the setup stuff. Runda is now going to do his special Runda gun anti-assault field. That's an 87 attack break, so even more mitigation for Chow. And then just double laser. And then Sylvie is going to do defense. That's for the Mirage, for the big defense and spirit buff. Just, more mitigations for Chow. We're going to Compassionate to cure those breaks. And then we're just going to do just Vines for the morale fill. So, again, a little bit of RNG here. We do have accuracy down on the boss, so the boss has a high chance to miss, but, it really depends. A lot of misses, we're looking good here. These first 2 turns are the most dangerous. Once we get past the first 2 turns, Chow should be good for the rest of the fight. And very, 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 very tight there. The boss did a lot of AoEs, and a bunch of them didn't miss, but, we survived. So that's the most dangerous part of the fight for Chow tanking. And if you seem like you can't handle your Chow tanking, just turn off the attack and magic mod, and you'll be okay at that point. But, as you can see, it can be done with a well-geared Chow. So, we're still going to set up this turn. So, we're going to go ahead and focus again with Onion. Chow is going to LB again. Remember, you got to LB every second turn with Chow for his stuff. Now, for this fight, every single turn, we're going to use the attack and magic buff, because we're not really using many attack and magic buffs. Never use Sylvie's offense skill, because that breaks defense and you'll die. We are going to use it later in the fight, but that's coming way later. We'll talk about it when we get there. Runda is going to use D-Shell. This is a 75% Spirit Break. We're getting it from an Esper. This is our only Spirit Break in the entire fight. If you're using Olive, you've got a 90 break. Way more damage. But, people said you don't have an EX3 Olive. Completely understandable. So we're breaking Spirit with an Esper. 75% from the Shiva Esper, so we're going to D-Shell with Runda. Notice we're not using his SLB. We don't need it this turn. We've still got 85 mitigations from Sylvie, so we're okay for the moment. Now, it is going to be a little bit dangerous on Chow, because we only have 75 physical mitigation this turn, but we should be overall okay with Chow. Sylvie on this turn is going to do Vines, Petals, and we're going to do Not So Fast to get rid of the boss's attack and magic buff that he put up last turn. Ayaka is going to do... We're going to use the Emboldering Song. This is the Magnus for AoE 160 killers. We don't need it for the final burst, so we're going to go ahead and use it now to help out in Phase 2. And then we're going to do a triple Carol, and then to the base form with Frievia, where we're going to do Field and then triple Bolting. Now we're going to go ahead and chain these guys up. Make sure you turn on the attack and magic mod from the morale bar, which we did already, and go ahead and chain this up. A little bit of damage. We're going to push the first threshold next turn. So we're going to do a little bit of damage here to get us closer. But, the big burst is coming next turn. There's morale, nice and filled. The good thing about Chow clears, morale is super easy. And as you can see, a lot of hits on Chow. The boss is not missing that much this turn. But the boss no longer has an attack and magic buff. The morale bar is maxed out. So Chow should... sometimes he gets hit pretty hard. But for the most part, Chow should be fine. And, starting next turn... we're going to have 85 physical and general mit for the rest of the fight. So Chow should be good for this point forward. The hardest part is the first few turns. Anyway, now it's turn 4, so now we're going to go ahead and burst that first threshold. We've got a double-focused Onion Knight ready to do Meteor. We're going to be doing, all the good stuff. So first of all, Chow is going to do... Focused Inspiration, that's an 80% magic mitigation. It's going to help for next phase. Then Most Loyal and True Guardian, just for some buffs, barriers, etc. Runda's going to go ahead and do his SLB. That's going to give us, good mitigation for the rest of the fight. The next 3 turns, but we're going to keep refreshing it. We're going to go ahead and attack and magic buff. We're going to use Sylvie before we burst. We're going to shift. We're going to do the big killers on Onion. We're going to big demon on Onion, big stone on Onion, and then just cheerful just for the morale fill. We're maxed out, but nothing else to really do that turn. Okay, Onion's going to shift and do Meteor. Big Meteor. And then we're going to Garden from the card on Frievia and Quad Carol on Ayaka. So we're going to go ahead and send Meteor, or send Onion, wait just a moment, wait till that second big Meteor comes down, then chain our guys up. And this should push the 70% threshold. Yeah, we way over pushed it. So there you go. Again, one of the defensive spirit mods is turned off. So you can try it with them all on. It's up to you. But for ease of explanation, we're leaving one of the mods off. Okay, now we're in phase 2. So we're going to use Sylvie to go to the base form, and we're going to fill up some mana on Onion to burst again. We're not going to fill them all the way, but we're going to do some. But first of all, not so fast to get rid of the boss's threshold attack and magic buff. And then double Compassionate. We've got an LB again with Chow. Remember, every other turn, so basically every odd turn for our clear. We're going to just reload, so we're going to be doing Garden and ×4 Carol again on our DPS. Before we do that, Runda is going to refresh D-Shell from an Esper, and we'll LB again, or Meteor again with Onion. Let's go ahead and put up the attack and magic buff. And we're going to, again, just burst again. Deal a nice chunk of damage to make sure the boss stays in phase 2. So we're going to Meteor. We're going to wait for that second big Meteor to come down. We're going to go ahead and chain it up. And this should deal, a chunk of damage here. Keep the boss securely into phase 2. Okay, some attacks. Now, phase 2 is, overall less dangerous. There is still the small RNG chance that the boss can go crazy with beams or kicks, and Chow could potentially be in danger, but most of the time your Chow is going to be totally fine. Not to mention, at this point, we now have 85 physical mitigation on him from Runda. So he's going to be okay for the rest of this fight. We're good. That being said, we're going to guard Chow this turn because we don't need anything from him. There's no reason to do anything, so we're just going to guard just for the absolute safety. And we're going to go ahead and burst yet again. So we're going to just reload all of these guys. Notice how Chow, with his counterattacks, filled Onion back to maximum mana, which is kind of awesome. We're going to use Runda to just triple laser here. That's going to refresh the brakes on the boss. Sylvie is going to shift. And this turn, we're going to give Ayaka the killers, because her killers are wearing off. And we're not spending time refreshing them yet. So we're going to go ahead and Demon Ayaka and Stone Ayaka. And we're going to Cheerful. Let's go ahead and attack and magic buff. And we're going to go ahead and chain this up, and then Runda will help chain as well. Now, here's the thing. Preferably, we'd like to get the boss close to 30, but not push the threshold this turn. That said, sometimes, depending on variance, we do push the threshold this turn. And if we do, there's no problem at all. It's totally fine. It's just my turn chart is going to be adjusted for assuming you don't push the threshold. So you have to kind of adapt. I'll explain. Let's go ahead and do our damage first. So let's go ahead and use Onion to use his Meteor here. Wait for that second big Meteor to start falling. And go ahead and chain the guys up. And we'll see if we push, hopefully we get close to 30, but not all the way. Oh, that is the dream. That is the dream of getting right there on the border. That's what we want to see. Okay, perfect. Now, wait for this to finish, then I'll explain what would happen if we did push the threshold. And the turn chart, I'll try to make the turn chart reflect, because it's not that big of a difference. The only real difference is if you did push the threshold, you got to remove the boss's attack and magic buff. And if you didn't, you want to use defense. So let's go ahead and wait for all the counterattacks to finish, and then I'll explain. Other than that, you do the exact same thing regardless. Okay, some attacks. Okay, so the only one that changed their actions depending if the threshold was pushed or not is Sylvie. So Sylvie is going to always, no matter what, vines and petals this turn. If you did push the threshold, you do not so fast to cure the boss's buffs. If you didn't push the threshold, you're going to do defense. We didn't push the threshold, so we're going to use defense this turn. That's going to refresh the big defense and spirit buff. Let's go ahead and put up attack and magic. Now, Onion Knight's Brave Shift is a 3-turn cooldown. In order for him to be able to Meteor again on turn 10, we're going back to the base form on this turn, and we're going to start focusing. We're going to go ahead and just magic boost. Because it's a 3-turn cooldown to Brave Shift, and we want him to focus without losing the slots and the shift form. So he's going to spend the next few turns just focusing magic, getting ready for the turn 10 big burst. Turn 7, we got an LB again with Chow. Go ahead and do that. Now for the DPS, we got an SLB with Runda. Frievia is going to quad. We're going to field and then triple bolting. Ayaka is going to quadruple. We're going to do good tidings and triple Carol of Snow. Now, if in your testing you're not quite pushing the rest of the threshold with just them triple casting because they're using a buff. So if you're not quite getting all the way to the threshold, you can have them ×4 bolting and make sure you do it. But we should very comfortably push to the rest of the threshold with only a triple DPS this turn. Yeah, we heavily overpush the threshold. So we're good. Threshold has been pushed. Perfect. The boss does his buffs. He puts up his attack and magic buff. This is when you have to remove that buff with Sylvie. So because we push the threshold on turn 7, we're going to use Sylvie to remove the buff. Okay, so we're going to shift Sylvie. And this time we're going to triple. We're going to give the killers to Frievia this turn. So we're going to Demon on Frievia. We're going to Stone on Frievia. And we're going to Not So Fast. Now, if we push the threshold on turn 6, then turn 8 is when you would do the defense buff instead. Anyway, we're going to just focus Onion again. The boss has defense and spirit buffs for 2 turns. Let's go ahead, attack and magic buff. Runda is going to de-shell the boss this turn. So we're going to just de-shell, so it's up for the rest of the fight. Ayaka on this turn is going to do Presence for Everyone for the big 100 amplify on the next few turns. We're going to go ahead and Spirit of the Season, and we're going to double Carol. Chow is going to do Most Loyal, True Guardian, and we're going to do Encouraging Light for the personal or the AoE Light Amplify. He's going to actually help damage on the final burst turn. Probably not necessary, but we're going to. So Chow's going to go ahead and give himself a Light Amplify for this turn. Frievia is going to go to the shift form on this round and end guard and double flick. So we'll go ahead and end guard and double flick. And we're going to try to chain this up. It's not going to chain super well. It's mostly just to deal a little bit of damage. The boss is going to heal and all that, but, you know, we're just getting yeah, very low damage that turn. Whatever. Okay. So the boss heals a little bit. Not that big a deal. Some attacks. Again, Chow's got all the mitigations right now. We're super fine. Tanking it like a boss. Yeah, the only major danger that Chow has is the first few turns. If you can get past those first few turns, he is good to tank this fight. Okay, so now we're going to get ready for killing the boss next turn. And the next turn is going to be our 100 count chain score and our 2.5 damage cap. But we're probably going to overcap by a lot. So we got an LB again, Chow, keep that Omni cover going. We're going to use Frievia to the base form. We're going to ×4. We're going to triple bolting and then Magnus. Now we need to do the SLB of Ayaka to get ready for the burst next turn. Sylvie is going to go ahead and use her shifted LB just for the big stat buffs. Onion is going to focus again. And Runda is going to triple laser. So triple laser is going to chain with our Frievia. Now because we did Sylvie's LB, we don't need 400 stat buffs anymore because Sylvie does it. And this is just, again, the reason we're doing this is just for a little bit of damage so the boss doesn't heal all the way up to the point where we don't OTK him. So here we go. So some attacks, whatever. The boss is at 40%, and we should comfortably do 40% on the final burst. Now the boss is being kind of rude with these AoE RNG attacks, and OMG, boss, yeah, sometimes the boss, it's RNG. The boss did a whole lot of kicks and beams that turn, and sometimes that'll happen, and it really hurts. But, you know, there it is. Alright, so now it is time for the kill turns. So we're going to be doing all kind of stuff with every one of the kill turns. So wait for Chow to finish countering, and we will get into it. And we need to do 2.5 or better. We're probably going to do somewhere around like 3 or more. Alright, all the autocasters. So the first thing we're going to do is Sylvie. Sylvie is going to shift, or she's already shifted. We're going to now do the killers on Onion. We're going to Demon Onion. We're going to Stone Onion. And now we're going to offense for a slightly bigger spirit break. Now, if the boss doesn't die from this, he's going to wipe your party. But we're killing the boss's turn, so it's okay to break defense, and more importantly, a bigger spirit break. Chow is going to shift. Remember, we did the light amplifier for him, and he's going to quad bolting strike, and he's geared for damage. His damage is going to be so low, but this is just in case you're getting to like 2.49. Then having Chow burst as well will help a little bit. We're going to Garden with Freevia. We're going to Big Magnus with Ayaka. Runda is just going to build the chain quicker by triple bolting. This is not important if you don't want to chain all these people at the same time. And then Onion is going to shift and Meteor. And that should be your damage cap with the stuff I'm using. So we're going to go ahead and send this. We're going to wait for that second big meteor to come down, chain it up, and this should be the end of the boss. He should die, and Ayaka's big hit at the end, some 920 million. Ayaka's Magnus is heavily backloaded, so 3.4, way over the damage cap, but with one of the defensive spirit mods turned off. So, and this, I'm not entirely sure where a clear like this would rank you, but for those of you that can't quite squeeze out the perfect rank one clear, here's an alternative that maybe gets you there. So here's the damage breakdown, but as usual, you can't really count it because, a lot of stuff going on. But Ayaka, obviously a big deal here. Onion is, bursting for Meteor. He helps push the first threshold. He helps damage a little bit in phase 2, and then he does that big final burst in the final phase. And there it is. So let me go ahead and show you the gear. And again, we left off this modifier. If you feel like your party is stronger or, well geared, you can turn off that mod and turn on the bigger mod. It's worth more points. You'll get a higher rank. Completely honestly speaking, I don't think this party realistically can do a rank 1 because, honestly, it's not so much the damage cap of the final burst. The problem would be phase 2. I think this party struggles a little bit in phase 2 with all modifiers turned on. You could try it, and if you're swapping out Onion for Olive, then maybe it could work. I don't know, but let me go ahead and show you the gear that we used of this party. So Espers, make sure Runda is on an Esper that gives you the D-Shell ability to break spirit. I gave it to Shiva because Shiva has D-Shell. Other than that, just, use Espers, whatever had the best killers for you. So Onion Knight is using, in the base form, kind of whatever, morale fill with the Magisters, the Rulers, etc. You want the Clash gear on both forms always. But here is his base form, some MP regen, magic boost, Bushido Freedom to dispel on turn 1. We never use Calamity Border. And of course, the Meteor card, which is what this is basically these days. And then base form, or shift form, sorry, for Meteor is we're using a double-handed rod, the Onion Knight, and I recommend you get MP on the Onion Knight rod because it's really good for like Sage of Onion Knight, because it gives percent MP as a base ability. But anyway, your best rod. We're using rod in peril, so your best rod. And then here's the build. So Meteor damage, you guys know how to gear for Meteor. Here you go, MP, Magic. He doesn't gear for it nearly as well as Golbez, but Golbez will kill your party because of auto break. Onion won't. So we're geared 125 Stone and 250 Demon. Yeah, Onion is very, very hard to gear for Meteor, which is why I say he's not as good in general use. But he's usable. Golbez is not on this fight. Sylvie is dual-wielding her own card because, morale, we're not provoking with her, so, her bulk is irrelevant. There we go. She's got counter gear and Esper fill from a previous strategy, so ignore all that. But here we go. Just, her gear, honestly, is completely... She could be completely naked, it wouldn't matter. But she does need her sword. She needs her sword for the skill that removes the attack and magic buff. That's important. But dual wield a morale card for easier morale. Runda is passive provoking. One of the attacks does bypass cover, a single target physical attack. I'm pretty sure we always miraged it anyway, but give Runda provoke in case an attack goes through, because one of the attacks ignores cover. I think it's called Gingerbread Smash, and that goes through cover. He's dual wielding a morale card as well. He's also using a elemental weapon. I think with this latest strategy, that doesn't really matter. Yeah, this strategy always seals the boss anyway, so that's an old strategy, so forget that. So yeah, his gear is kind of irrelevant as well. He's for mitigations. He's literally here for one reason only, to mitigate Chow, because Chow has bad mitigation, and Runda fixes that. So if you have Hyuncle, that's a way better option, because Hyuncle and Esther. Esther as your Omni tank, and Hyuncle to mitigate Esther. Because Esther has bad magic mitigation, Hyuncle will fix that. I don't have him, I can't demonstrate it. There are other videos using Hyuncle though. In the base form, Chow is built for full evasion. Like I said, the boss has plus 100 accuracy, but we're doing a 50 down accuracy. So the boss only has plus 50 accuracy. So with evasion, there's a 50-50 chance for the boss to miss. It really cuts down on damage taken in phase 1 for your Omni cover tank if half of the boss's physical attacks just straight up miss. There is a little bit of RNG involved because maybe all of them land and your tank dies, but for the most part, 100 evasion should reduce the damage you take by a large amount. Other than that, just a lot of bulk, a little bit of ice and earth resist. You don't need much. Physical and magical bulk. Now, I did not make his intrinsic. If you want his intrinsic, obviously you can craft it. It'll make him bulkier. I didn't. We are using the Midnight Reveler's card, and this is amazing for an Omni cover tank. If you don't have this, just use your best Omni cover card you've got. Probably the Power Cut card, something like that. But there we go. Shift form, I geared him for damage. I already forgot the damage breakdown, but I'm sure Chow was very low. But on the last turn, he's not doing anything, so I geared him for a double hand rod build with Spirit, and he's technically geared for damage. I forgot to check what he did, but I'm sure it was very low. But yeah, whatever. He chains on the final kill turn. Frievia in the base form is a magic build versus Stone and Demon with the special card from Ayaka. There you go. Shift form, she's maxed on everything. Start in the shift form with some morale fill, Celestite Rod, Treasured Ring. The rest of this doesn't really matter. And there you go. And then Ayaka is very well geared. EX2. So that's all you really need. The damage in this clear was fine. With the modifier off, the damage was super easy. But if you turn on all the mods, then damage obviously becomes a lot harder. But there's a clear using 9 out of 10 modifiers. It should get you a decent rank. I know it's not what you guys want to see. You guys want to see like a super budget rank 1 clear. I don't know if that's realistic. I do have a rank 1 clear on my channel. It's very hard to pull off, but it does work. But yeah, so here is a rank mid-tier clear. So there it is. See you in a bit.